Welcome to this week's exciting installment of Yilungelo Lakho. It's your right. Uhlelo olunilethela izindaba izexwayiso kanti nalo lonke ulwazi oluthinta amalungelo enu njengabathengi. 0117146918 alternatively 7146919 consumer@sabc.co.za is our email address, and of course siyatholakala ku Facebook. Umangcolosi lombukeli othi sanibonani kuzo zonke indawo lapho nibheke khona umamba phambili SABC1 eMzansi for sure. Mbukeli abathengi ebese beloko bedonselwa izimali ezishisiwe ngendlela emnyama inkampani ethize sebethembele phela kuyinkantolo zomthetho ukuthi babuyiselwe izimali zabo. Bekuyiminyaka ke lenkampani idonsela abantu izimali ngemuva kokuthi phela ibathembise ukuthi izikweletu zabo zizotholakala kalula kanti ibadayisela okunye okungekhona lokho abathe babadayisela bona. Unobathembu Zansi usilithelana kumbiko.
Abathengi bahlala belumkiswa ngokuba zizisulu zomachonisa namaziko emalimboleko angekho mthethweni kwanokuzifaka nzulu ematyaleni. Kodwa kuthwani xa umthengi elotywe intengiso elahlekisayo kwiwebsite ebonakala ingathandabuzeki ifana nje nezinye inkampani ezithembekileyo. Lo maziko enenkqubo efana nqwane yasezibhankini namanye amaziko emalimboleko abufana. Ngelishwa ke amawakawaka abathengi beli abasindanga ukuba ngamaxhobo kulahlekelwa zimali zabo ezitsalwe iminyaka kwibhanki zabo zinkampani ezithembisa ukubahlangula ngokwasezimalini. Kutyholwa ngokuba ezinkampani beziphantsi kwenkampani yaziwa nge-Lifestyle Direct Group zathembisa abathengi imalimboleko efikelelekayo ngelixa kungekho kwamalimboleko ezishishina ngayo, nto nje zilukuhla abathengi ukuba bangene kwizivumelwano ezilahlekisayo ezithi kanti zifaka abathengi kwiikontrakthi zoncedo ngeenkonzo zasemthethweni, illegal services ngolwasemzini. Ignatius Haynes ungomnye wamawakawaka abathengi kweli abayinxalenye yenkqubo yokuya enkundleni ngobambiswano i-class action ngabula makhumsha ngakule nkampani nanjengoko ekholelwa ukuba intengiso yewebsite awangena kuyo yayilahlekisa.
It was like a normal loan website where you have to fill in your name, surname, ID, your gross income, all the standard questions that you usually get, if you want to make a loan on F&B or whatever.
Uthi emva koko watsalelwa umnxeba kufuna uqinisekiswa iinkcukacha zakhe zebhanki ukuze kufakwe loo mali kwi-account eyiyo. Endaweni yoko uthi wabona setsalelwa imali kwi-account yakhe nge-debit order yile nkampani. Xa ejikisa i-debit order wathunyelwa i-email eziliqela ngamagqwetha lenkampani emgrogrisa ngokuba wophula imiqathango yesivumelwano. Ngoko ke kofuneka ukuba ahlawule isohlwayo sokuphuma kwesi sivumelwano sesixa esingaphaya kwamawaka amabini erandi. Kungenjalo kwakuza kufuneka avele enkundleni.
I received the court documents. They said because I reversed the debit orders, I now have to pay the entire fee for this service. And this came up to 2,060 Rand and 95 cents. So I refused to pay this because I didn't want to pay for something that I didn't use. What I didn't know at the time was my late mother also received these threats and these court documents. And out of fear, she paid the full amount.
Emva kwezi zigrogriso uthi waba novalo wazama ukufumana uncedo lohlangulo kumaziko ajongene namalungelo abathengi kwiiwebsite zezikhalazo nakumakhasi ezonxibelelwano. Zaye zisanda izikhalazo zabathengi abakule meko kaHaynes kumakhasi onxibelelwano. Kungoku nje ithemba labo likwiziko eStellenbosch University Law Clinic nethe yangenelela ukusalomba kwiinkundla zamatyala ngokophula imithetho equka leyo ekhusela abathengi, i-Consumer Protection Act.
If the class action is successful, consumers who form part of the definition of the class, whose monies were debited by these companies from their accounts, will be able to recover those funds. Bearing in mind that this is an opt-out class action, meaning that if a consumer does not want to form part of this class action, then they will have to opt out. Judge Gamble had indicated that a special master must be appointed in this matter, who will then handle the nuts and bolts of these claims and how the claims should be done.
Susela ukuqinisekiswa kwale class action inkundla ephakamileyo yaseNtshona Koloni kulonyaka uphelileyo, isininzi sezi-websites zavalwa kwaye nenkundla yayalela ukuba le nkampani irhoxe egrogriseni abathengi abangamaxhoba lomkhuba. Ebutsheni balonyaka i-Lifestyle Direct Group ifake isibheno kwinkundla yezibheno ngenjongo zokuphikisana nomyalelo wenkundla yamatyala ephakamileyo yaseNtshona Koloni, kungoku nje abathengi banethemba lempumelelo. Umthetho okhusela amalungelo abathengi, Consumer Protection Act, ukhuthaza ukuba abathengi bayifundisise bayiqonde imimiselo nemiqathango kwizivumelwano phambi kokuba batyikitye okanye bacofe elo qhosha lokuvuma kwikhompyutha. Ukanti neenkampani ziyayalelwa ukuba zingapapashi intengiso ezilahlekisayo kubathengi. Akukacaci kwangoku ukuba eli tyala lozala nkomonina, kodwa amaxhoba ahlele ethembeni. Nobathembu Zantsi, Yilungelo Lakho.
Sibongeke kunomathembu umezantsi ngalombiko mbukeli. Oh, these are concerning news indeed. Manje ke ukhuluma abanzi phela ngodaba lethu. Samukele ivakashi zethu namhlanje. We have in studio on my left isishoshovu samalungelo abathengi ebuya kwiMarefi Consulting. Ngisho yena ubaba Elias Shamatla. Hello Elias.
Sawubona sisi unjani?
Kunjani budi Elias?
Saphila.
Ngiyaphila budi Elias. Let's welcome our other guest joiner via Skype. So now Dr. Stefan van der Merwe, yena Omele Stellenbosch Law Clinic. Mr. van der Merwe, it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Thank you for the invitation. Yeah, good afternoon to you and your person.
Maybe, Stefan, let's start with you. We've just seen an insert basically outlining some of the merits of what this case is all about. Without diving into further merits of the case, can you please just give us a context, a background context of what really happened here?
Yes, gladly. So what happened is that the University of Stellenbosch's Law Clinic became aware of quite a number of concerns and complaints from members of the public who were complaining about this specific company, Lifestyle Legal or Lifestyle Direct. And what the complaints were about was that people were Googling loans, so they wanted to obtain loans or loan finding services. And when in search engines like Google, they would put in a loan, that they're looking for a loan, they would be guided to websites that were typically called websites like Loan Find or Loan Hunt or Loan Scout or Loan Locator, or basically anything you want connected to the word loan. And then when people got to these websites, the websites were set up, created in such a way as that when any reasonable person looks at them, they would think that they, through this website, would be able to either apply for a loan or at least a loan finding service.
Mm-hmm. And what was actually going on there, Stefan?
So the situation was then that when people went through these websites, and on the home pages, they say very clearly the invitation, things like even if you're blacklisted, you can apply for a loan, no credit check, those kinds of words used. We'll get you what you're looking for, those kinds of invitations. And then once a person clicked on a specific link, they would be taken to a document that was headed apply here. So not the word purchase or anything like that. It says apply here after you clicked for a specific loan. And then the person had to put in their details. And these were typically the kind of details one would put in when you apply for a loan. So it is your personal details, your salary details, and your bank details. And people would enter these details again under the very clear impression that they are giving this information to apply for a loan. But what people then don't realize is at the very bottom of these loan documents, there was a little block, and these are called click-wrap agreements, because one clicks this little block, and then you're wrapped into all kinds of legal obligations as a result of that. And so once a person clicked this box, and they could only move on to the next screen once this box is clicked, then they inadvertently got into an agreement for which they never wanted to enter in the first place. And so there's the concept, it's called the dark pattern design or dark pattern marketing, in terms of which websites are set up in such a way as that it would appear to any reasonable person to deliver a specific service in which, of course, a consumer is interested, while it is in fact delivering something very different. Now, in the case of these websites, what people were entering into, which again they didn't realize and didn't appreciate, didn't want, was that as soon as they clicked that box, they were in fact entering into an agreement for a so-called legal services, telephonic legal services or telephonic legal advice package from a website called Loan Finder or Loan Hunter, which by itself is ridiculous, that someone would want to engage in legal services or a legal advice package through this website. Now these websites were obviously not registered to provide legal services in the first place. But that, none despite that being the fact, this was then the service that a person purchased. And then, to their shock, they would realize in the months to follow that amounts would be deducted from their bank accounts. So an initial amount of about 400 Rand, and then monthly fees of 99 Rand would be deducted against their bank accounts for this service, which they didn't want, and that no one used. With all of the consumers that we spoke to, in all of the evidence that we, through the course of this case, have been presented with, we could not find one case where those services were then actually delivered. And so yeah, that kind of is the background to where the case, what happened is maybe, if you want to, I could just quickly explain where the case is at the moment in terms of the process as well.
All right, maybe we'll get into that shortly after this. I just want a quick response from Elias in studio. Thank you so much for that background, Stefan. Babu Elias, shocking indeed ukuthi abantu not only ukuthi baya lapha bathi bona bacabanga ukuthi bazothola ama loan kanti kahle kahle basayinela enye into of which lento izobafaka ezikweletini. Abantu abangakuhlampa obuke weza ukuthi mhlambe babandakanyeka kulolu daba.
Baba ningi uyabona sis Alicia ma use desperate modinga imali.
Awufunda ama T's and C's.
Yeah, and especially when it comes from the website, we think this is legit. And we fill up our information like Dr. Van der Merwe has said, and you expect the money to hit your account because you have already provided the bank details, only to find out you have signed up for something that you never thought of. Because I think illegal advice,
Exactly.
Yes.
But now, Stefan, maybe just continue from where we left off. We've got 2 minutes before we go to break. Where is the case now, and how many people are actually part of this class action?
Yes, so it's a very important point, I think, that Elias made as well, is that these are it's vulnerable and desperate people that are involved, because they pulled into this based on the promise that we'll give you a loan, will add to your finances so that you can get out of your financial trouble. And in the meantime, now they're entering into contracts which put them into further financial debt. In terms of the numbers that are involved, we are aware of thousands, in so much as that if you go on to Hello Peter, if you look on Facebook, there's a group that was specifically created called Action Against Lifestyle Legal and Other Scams. I think it's called the Facebook group. And there are thousands of people that have already on those groups indicated that there is problems. In terms of the court documents, the respondents, these websites and Lifestyle Legal disclosed that they have in excess of 50,000 clients, consumers in other words, that they have dealt with. So we're talking about thousands and thousands of people. In terms of where the process is currently, the Western Cape High Court granted an order to certify the class. So as you know, this is something that we want to pursue through class action litigation, and we can maybe speak a bit about some more about that later on. But that order was granted by the Western Cape High Court. These websites then wanted to appeal the specific order, so they then requested leave of appeal. That was refused, and they have now approached the Supreme Court itself, the Court of Appeals in Bloemfontein, and requested the SCA to grant it leave to appeal the matter to that court. Okay. So at this stage, both parties will still have the opportunity to present the matter in the Supreme Court of Appeal if these companies are granted leave to pursue the matter. If not, then the class action itself will continue.
All right, we're gonna get into more detail ngaloko mbukeli uma sesibuya emva kwekhefu 0117146918 alternatively 7146919 consumer@sabc.co.za. Ngabe wena uyithola uyi-victim yalaba ababizwa i-lifestyle direct group, ungashayela la studio usitshela ukuthi bakwenzeni, singakusiza kanjani. We're back shortly after this. They are wide open. 0117146918 alternatively 7146919 consumer@sabc.co.za or usithole lapha ku Facebook. Namhlanje ke sikhuluma ngalento ekuthiwa i-false or ilokhuzana marketing or misleading advertising. So it's false or misleading advertising, where we found inkampani abathi lifestyle direct group ithi dayisela abantu amaloni, uyithole wena usuklikile imali ya deductwa, kanti kahle kahle you were actually signing up for ama-services abameli of which ubungabadingi. Sibabonile abantu bekhala kwi-insert, sitshale na udaba lakho mhlambe singakusiza. My guest today, Mr. Stefan van der Merwe of the Stellenbosch Law Clinic, oyena ke futhi omele le ndaba oyithathe kwi-class action alongside ubaba Elias Shamatla, siyamazi kwisishoshovi samalungelo abathengi. Baba Elias, maybe ake siqhubeke lapho. Kubaluleke kangakanani ukuthi abantu bafunde lama T's and C's? We were just having, and I want Stefan to come in on this as well, because not so long ago we had a language debate and we're talking about how, of course, the Constitution allows any creditor or lender or in fact, consumer to ask for their preferred language when they sign a document. Yes. But as we know, this debate never went anywhere. Stefan, I'm just giving you a heads up. This debate never went anywhere. It's the third time running now. I'm having the same thing. I'm not getting anywhere except the fact that the law is there, but nobody's enforcing it. So, Elias, if people cannot understand these T's and C's, especially online, la kuthiwa kunelink okuthi if lezi zinto lama documents oqeda ukwasayinela kumele a process kumele udlulela and when uklikha lapho ubani osenkingeni, sizofunda kanjani, sizofunda nini?
I mean, I've never seen any contract ebalunge ngesiZulu or isiXhosa.
Exactly, I'm yet to see one. Yes. And I always insist on those.
Yeah, so manje udesperate but here all blacklisted consumers are welcome.
Yeah.
Obviously, mounting a loan. Usuqala ibank.
Yebo.
Ibank yaw decline it, you have been blacklisted.
Credit check, yebo.
And then ma Google lapho uhlangana no lifestyle what. And then ma fika lapho but usuyithola into efunayo, which is imali. Then you are tick, you fill up the details, then it next screen agree, you agree, boom.
Usuthathelwa imali wena.
Yes. And azange understand ukuthi what are they saying there?
Kubaleka kanjani wena bra ukuthi abantu bafunde kodwa ama T's and C's, nokuthi if ungawa understand uthola umuntu ozokuchazela, especially lo muntu okuthengisela impahla noma leyo product.
I once asked a judge of the High Court, do you read everything? Like, for example, when you take a loan from the bank.
He's the judge.
Yes.
What did he say?
And then you've got this long list of conditions at the back. To tell you the honest truth, I gave Izindaba.
Nobody does.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say to you is that when you are applying for a loan, you are scared to ask many questions, especially when you are desperate. You just want to sign and get done with.
And in this case, ubuzobuza bani kwaphela online land.
Exactly, we say online, we won, but it tick, next.
Tick, next. Okay, Frai. Stefan, please come in there because, you know, this thing always bugs me to the core. When are we going to have purposeful, like very, very layman term type of agreements that consumers understand? This is what I'm getting. This is what I'm paying for, because that's all the consumers are asking for. Whereas giving them this whole legal jargon that they're probably not going to understand anyway is going to discourage them even more from reading those T's and C's.
Yeah, Alicia, you're completely correct. And to my mind, there's two issues here on the table. The first is exactly what you're saying, is that when those T's and C's are provided, give them in a language that's clear and simple, because that's exactly what the Consumer Protection Act says. You know, the CPA puts that on the table and says that's a requirement to provide contracts in clear and simple language. But then secondly, and this is the second issue here, even more pertinent again to the matter that we're talking about now, is the issue that what happened here and what happens also in practice then as a result of the anonymity of the internet and online transactions is that people get away with putting unclear T's and C's, but also sometimes not even putting them at all. Like in these cases, so what happened here, as I say, is there was just a block that needed to be ticked. Beneath the block, there's 5 different links that you would take you to 5 different pages if you click on the correct link in terms of which these T's and C's. And so these T's and C's links are provided in between different other links, links about privacy, links about the kind of the service requirements for the internet, the specific page. And a person, in other words, has to find the exact correct link and then goes and tries to find the T's and C's, which they then try and need to figure out what it actually means.
Yeah.
So there's so many levels to this in terms of the problem.
Absolutely. But I mean, awusitsheleke wena. Yini ke ama consumers angayenza, because I like what Stefan is saying ukuthi kune difference between, as I alluded to earlier on, the online system, whereas in face-to-face situations where ungambuza umuntu ukuthi yazini lokho ngikuunderstand kahle. Yini ke ngenziwe?
Yabona usis Alicia, it's very complicated because where you can
just don't shop online.
Yeah, if you can get somebody who can help you in the bank, and that person says to you, your application is declined, and umntwana wakho uqoshwe esikoleni, bafuna school fees, we are online to check ukuthi na ubani usosiza, then
uhlangana lapho
yakumashonisa. Because you need money urgently. If you have got death in the family, for example, if you know a policy ya repudiate iclaim yakho, and for this weekend, we are happy. We are online to check who else can lend you the money.
That's true.
Unfortunately,
but in that haste, yoguthi si busy or si distracted or we are grieving, yes, then we must si overstep sidlula ama steps ekumele siwathathe. Ekutheni siyenza sure ukuthi thina at the end of the day we're not making any losses.
Yeah, if you are not IT inclined, it will be difficult to see this is a bogus website. Bogus.
Bogus,
for example, mawuthola email ethi iwe SARS.
Yeah.
Bafuna information yakho. Click a reply, it shows you a different email address. It's not a SARS email.
Okay.
So those things are technical things that a lay person will not be able to notice.
Okay. So uyabaqoqoza ukuthi abangakwazi ukusebenzisa izinto online abacela umuntu okwaziyo khona ezokwazi ukubasiza. All right, no, that is plain and simple. Mugeli, I guess bambe elinye ikhefu. We're back shortly after this break. Ungainda. Welcome back. Namhlanje ke sikhuluma nge-false or misleading advertising. Labo ke abazothi ozendaweni esozothola ilona enjena awuzukhokha ama interest, izinto ezinjalo nje, or bakutshela ukuthi kunezinto ongayikhulisa ungeke uzukwazi ukuyikhulisa mhlambe njengeinwele ya uzucabanga na ukuthi ngithini. Anyway, into engishoyo ukuthi Mboli ungasithinta la studio 0117146918 or 7146919 consumer@sabc.co.za. Stellenbosch Law Clinic iyona ke le ebambele licala ekuthiwa i-class action, okusho ukuthi abantu abaningi ke ama consumers athola ukuthi le nkampani ekuthiwa i-Lifestyle Direct Group ibibaqambela amangithi ibanikeza ama loan, kanti cha yona ifuna basayinele umshwarensi osebenza nama-lawyer nabameli into abebeyideducta every month ezimalini zabantu bengazange bafunde. So namhlanje ke sifuna ukwazi ukuthi iziphi izinto ongazenza. All right, so Stefan, let's talk about this. Now, I'm on section 41 of course, the Consumer Protection Act. And this is in relation to false, misleading, as well as deceptive representations. And it's talking about the marketing of any goods or services. Please try and explain this section in layman terms for our viewers. What does it actually mean?
So Alicia, I'll try and explain it again with reference to the matter that we're talking about now. And so the idea is in that specific section 40, 41, and then 48 of the Consumer Protection Act are the sections that the class certification specifically aimed on. And what those sections do is they attempt to put into legislation basically what our common law says about things like misrepresentation, fraudulent misrepresentation specifically. So you don't want a consumer to enter into a contract on the basis of an unjust or unlawful representation that was made to them. And again, so when you have a position where a consumer is told that they're going to be concluding a contract which is going to give them a certain service, and in fact, after conclusion of the contract, they get something completely different, then that would definitely be an example of an unreasonable, unlawful, unjustified, and just an unconscious kind of contract that was entered into. In terms of the unconsciousness, to be an unconscious kind of contract, one needs then to have terms which would shock kind of the sensibilities of a reasonable person. And that is what this is about. This, when you talk to a reasonable person about these type of things, then they're going to say this simply doesn't sound right.
But then, Stefan, I understand this is inscribed in the CPA book, but is there legislation that is actively enforcing it so that even the creditors themselves do comply?
Yeah, so again, when you talk about unconscionable kind of conduct, then there's a couple of things. One is the CPA. The other thing other legislation that's very important here is the Electronic Consumer and Transaction Act, so it's known as ECTA. And then the Electronic Communication Transaction Act, or ECTA, has specific sections that deals with specifically then online contracts. So we are in the situation where you conclude a contract through an online means, then that act then also specifies things like that a person is only able to be bound by contracts that you enter onto online if all of the relevant information is provided. If that consumer has, for example, the information about who this person is on the other side of the internet, because as we've been saying up to now, the online platform, the emergence of this online economy, even post-COVID especially, is very dangerous because it makes it, the online is a perfect environment for a scammer to operate in, because you don't have that face-to-face contact. They can hide behind the anonymity of the internet. And so therefore you need things like ECTA and legislation to set up a framework in which a person has rights that can be protected. To do that in practice is sometimes a challenge, because now you need to involve attorneys and legal representatives to enforce your rights.
Bra Elias, iyangikhonsena lento, mhlawumbe usichazele ngesiZulu ukuthi mesikhuluma ngale section, ngiyambuza uStefan ukuthi ukhona, siyezwa ngempela ukuthi incwadi yasho ukuthi iconstitution yasho ukuthi abathengi kumele baprotectwe kanjani. Kodwa ubani esithi sigijimela kuyena uma sesithola sesikulenkinga ukuthi nayi information ihambile, nansi imali ithathiwe, then what? Because there's a piece of paper, but ngiya kubani mase nginenkinga?
Uyabona lapho sis Alicia kune NCA foot, National Credit Act foot.
Yes.
We have seen previously whereby the regulator has clamped on all those false advertisers. For example, uyakhumbula ikhona advert yase shop yakuthi uthola a loan within 15 minutes.
Oh yes.
Yes, the regulator cancelled that advert because it was misleading.
Okay.
Yes, and then there were some companies that were advertising the discounts on the loans. Ukuthi mawukweleta basoyehlisa i-installment yakho 60% or 50%. Regulator wathi that is misleading. Remove that advert.
Okay.
Yes. Mawuthola into enje ngumthengi uyakhona ukuthi ukayireport ku regulator or a National Consumer Commission uthi in terms of the CPA, I think this is misleading. In terms of NCA, we are go NCR. And I have seen it in myself in NCR clamping on those adverts.
Manje benziwani labantu bra, uba report police station, uba report kwi-ombudsman, do you go to Stefan so that you can take the matter up in court? How do you then deal with this situation? You've been misled and you've parted ways with your hard-earned money. What now? Where do I start?
Okay. I think we all know, in terms of the CPA, Consumer Protection Act, in all the provinces, we have got consumer offices, whereby you can just walk in and go and lay your complaint.
Okay.
I've entered into this type of agreement. I thought this is what it is, only to find out it's something else.
Okay.
I'm a consumer affairs offices, and then Baso escalator to National Consumer Commission.
NCA, yes.
Yes. And then sometimes Baso took away a lawyer, an attorney, because they cannot handle the matter because of certain reasons. That's when you can go to the law clinics and say, I need assistance here.
Okay.
Yeah. In terms of the NCA, or National Credit Regulator, I've been misled. I've entered into this particular credit agreement, and I never thought that I was signing up for this thing. Yes. But with regards to NCA, National Credit Act, you've got only NCR offices to complain to. But with regards to CPA, you've got consumer affairs offices across the country.
All right, okay. Uyezwa ke mbukela ukuthi hey ungaqali gijimela police station awutheke lama bodies awabalayo obot Elias. Mbukele, let's take another quick ad break. Siyabuya khona manje, don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Sisadingida udaba le false or misleading advertising okusho ukuthi umthengisi uzothi uzokhokhela le service uqede lapho ungayitholi noma uthole into nje ehlukile usuyithola usulahlekelwa nayi imali. My guest today, Mr. Stefan van der Merwe from the Stellenbosch Law Clinic. He's an attorney alongside isishoshovi samalungelo enu bathengi, including me, ubaba Elias Shamatla osjoina la studio. All right, so now Stefan, I want to know about this. Let's talk about, maybe let's refer back to the insert. Let's backtrack a little bit. I think one of the victims there said, or was referring to, it's actually not the victims, it's one of our advisors on the insert. He said something about this being an opt-out class action. Please maybe just take us through that. What does that mean? And do people actually incur any sort of losses when they actually cancel being part of the class action? How does class action actually work, maybe?
Yeah, thank you, Alicia. So my colleague Odwan Weber actually explained that as well, and it's I'm glad he did. I'm part of a team at the law clinic, and we have some advocates on board who are involved in this matter as well. But so with regarding to the class action, how it functions is that firstly we went to court, and what's done up to this point is you have to firstly approach the court in order to request the court to certify a class action. So in other words, to allow the matter to pursue by way of a class action. Only once that is done, then the class action really actually starts. The summons is going to be issued against these companies, and then they will be called to court in order to explain themselves, and then the court will make a finding, and from that we will then get the special master appointed who will then be involved in distributing funds and monies to the various members of the class. So at this point, as I say, the class action was certified, it's been approved, but we're now waiting to hear from the SCA whether it is going to be appealable or not. What an opt-out class action does is it means that if you fall as a consumer into the definition of the specific class, so during the class action certification application, a class definition was formulated, and what that definition basically says that is if you're a consumer who had transactions with any of these websites, and there's a list of 12 websites on the court order, and you had transactions with this website anytime after the 15th of May 2015 when they were all registered basically on the same day, and you were then you had money deducted from your bank account, you were harassed by them, then you will automatically form part of that class. So the representatives of the class, being the Stellenbosch University Law Clinic, and the number of private individuals as well, will represent the class. And then if you fall into that definition, you don't have to see us, you don't have to contact us, you will automatically receive any benefits that the court then makes ultimately a finding in terms of this matter. If you don't want to be part of the class, then you must contact us specifically and say you don't want to form part of the class. If you're part of the class, then you can only get benefits. You don't need to be worried that, oh, I'm part of this class action, and if it goes against the representative, then I'm going to have to pay legal costs. None whatsoever. It's only for the representatives to bear the responsibility for the legal costs as well.
All right. And very quickly, Stefan, I mean, what maybe are some of the legal ramifications should the court then find for the class?
So if the class or action certification then goes through, then we will have the hearing itself. So at that hearing, it'll be a normal hearing where both parties will present their evidence. If the court then at that stage finds that the websites did in fact act in a fraudulent fraudulent misrepresentation, then the court will appoint a special master. So the master will then dictate the process going forward, which is likely to be a process in terms of which then he has to decide how the money that is going to be ordered through this judgment in favor of the class will have to then be collected from these websites and the people who are behind the website, and then distributed to the various members of the class.
Oh, that's very interesting indeed, bra. Kusho ukuthi ithemba lisekhona ngenzeka ukuthi inkantolo uma bewina iclass laba bakwazi ukuthi bathole imali zabo. But then chaza ukuthini lokho for umuntu mhlawumbe ongazange ayijoin le class action, ungamtshela ukuthi mhlawumbe naye agibele khona ezokwazi ukuthi athole lokho akuluzile, noma ungathi nje kulabo mhlawumbe abebeluza imali eziningi yibone kumele ukuthi bajoin le class.
Yebo, and abantu bafunde ama statements wabo baso wabona ama debit orders, a lifestyle or allegedly lifestyle company, then ba follow a case, because if a university are win a case, then they're going to benefit as well.
Okay. Yes. And then amanye ama case mhlambe bra isiphe sinye space obona ukuthi kudlala kakhulu ngabantu uthola ukuthi I think we've spoken about dealerships a lot ukuthi uzothola bethi imoto uyithenga injanjani ukuthi uyayidrive imoto ayisasebenzi, but mhlambe ungasinike eminye imizekelo amanye ama examples of misleading advertising.
Timeshares.
Okay.
Yakuthi usubhatala 800 rand a month or 400 rand a month, and then mawufuna yakho ya a holiday usofona ubuke awubhatale lutho.
Okay.
And every time you try to book a holiday accommodation, but igcwele.
Okay. Or ama flights akahambi.
Yes.
Or benzi COVID excuse.
Yes. And you can cancel it. There was a class action attempt on that as well.
Okay.
Angazi ukuthi phelele phi.
Okay. Ezinye bra awuxwayise nje abantu ababukeli.
Yeah, I said timeshares, and I think it was handled by the National Consumer Commission. And we are yet to receive the report on that one, on what happened, what transpired. Unlike this one at least we know that is ongoing, something is happening. But there are timeshares whereby people are paying 800 rand a month, and they cannot even cancel those contracts. And there's an ombudsman there, Voasa, which, in my opinion, is not helping, because the contractor connected to ngenile.
Manje mesikhuluma ngalama contracts bra I think kubalekile ukuthi sichazele abantu, yebo sishilo indaba zama T's and C's ukuthi ifine print, but yini mhlawumbe ongaba advisor ukuthi bayenze in case either umuntu aka understand noma ufuna nje ukusheshisa athole le loan ayifunayo, yini mhlawumbe imiphi imibuzo kumele ayibuze yena plus nalabantu asebenza ngabo.
Number one, what is your registration number?
Okay.
Because if a company offers a credit by an NCR number, NCR registration number,
yes,
you can go to the NCR website and check
ukuthi ba
registered.
Okay.
Yes, that's number one. Number two, where are the offices for these companies? If they are somewhere in the air, then you know that there's a problem. Because when you've got a problem, who do you contact? You're
going to call the air. All right, asibeke lapho bra. Mbukele you must insist ukuthi ucela i-physical address yalabantu bangakutshela ukuthi semoyeni ngubukuphi nakubukuphi PO box. You must want the physical address. Uyasho bra isiyabo emva kwaleli cafe, don't go anywhere. It's our final segment. It's false or misleading advertising, where we found one of these companies allegedly were offering loans kubantu. Kanti lawo loans bengawona loans abebe offerisha. They were actually offering legal services, of which akudebita and wena leyo loan awukaze uyithole. My guest today ubabu Stefan van der Merwe okuyena ke ophethe leli cala le class action, nobabu Elias Shamatla la e studio. Iseshoshovi samalungelo eno. All right, Stefan, we're about to end the show now, so I want very, very quick and direct answers. All right, I think we've lost Stefan for a second there, but buza kwena bra mucabanga le class action siyaphambili izoba benefita kanjani abantu basemzansi?
Number one, abantu badliwe imali zabo bazothole imali zabo back.
Okay.
Number two,
uma inkantolo irula
yes, against
the company.
Yes. And then number two, those companies who want to explore the same.
Bayazi ukuthi basenkingeni.
Exactly. Yeah.
But asikhulume ngalezi zinto. I mean, for mhlambe labantu wena bra abaqeda ukubona ukuthi mhlambe nabo they form part of ilokhuzana le class action. Bengifuna ukubuza uStefan, but sizombuza mekabuye. Wena mucabanga yini abangayenza ukuthi babe part of le lokhuzana le class action?
They must wait until the case is finalized.
Okay.
Yeah, because then they're gonna say, come forward now, bring your details or your particulars so that you can be able to benefit from the process of whatever that is. So
kumele bajoine nini? Kumele bajoine manje ba find out mhlambe from company yabo Stefan ukuthi kumele bajoine manje and imininingwane abayidingayo
yipi?
No,
what the university is saying now ukuthi this is an opt-out case.
Okay.
Meaning that automatically we're in already.
Oh, so bonke abantu abebe part. Oh, yes. So ngiyabona bra. So wonke kahle umuntu obe part of le group lena and bamdeductela imali, automatically you are part of this case.
Exactly.
Unless uthi kubona hayi mina angifuni ukuthi ngibe part of this case. Because obviously I'm sure, I mean i-class action i-result noma ngathiwa imali ziyaphuma, I'm sure ukuthi nalabantu abayilokhuzile abayiqalile i-class action izomela ukuthi bakhiphe okuncane ukuze khokhelwa abameli phela uma bewin. Isn't that so?
No, the consumers are not paying anything.
Okay.
Yeah, this is pure pro bono.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're not paying anything.
Okay.
Yes.
So koze kumele inkantolo ukuthi mhlambe kuze kube yona ke esho ukuthi igide engakanani zemali lezi ezokhokhelwa ama consumer.
Master also cheke, the master that is going to be appointed to run with this case.
Okay. All right. Yes. Okay, Stefan, I'm so glad you are back. I was saying to you, just because we're about to leave, I want short and quick answers. Please, I was just deliberating with Elias here. Very quickly, Stefan, for a consumer that has now just realized by watching this show that they do form part of this class action, how can they contact you? Where can they get more information? And what are the documents or anything that they might need?
So, Alicia, the short answer to that is they don't need to contact us because it's an opt-out class action. They will automatically be part of the class the moment the certification has been finalized. So if they want more information, go onto our website. It's www.sulawclinic.co.za. And on our website, and they can also follow our social media, our Facebook page, the University of Stellenbosch Law Clinic. There they'll find
awesome stuff. Okay, Mbukeli ngiyathemba ukuthi uyezwa lapha ke sithathe ikhola yethu Mam Sophie eForce. Lo Mam Sophie sakwamukela ohlelo ntokazi uthi qaba njengamafu kunjani?
Siphilile njani?
Ngiyaphila baba kunjani?
Siphilile mamathi.
Ngiyaphila baba. Ubani ubaba igama?
Ubaba uThepo.
Oh, Baba uThepo bengithi bathe uMam Sophie askisi baba uMokwena. Ngicela uqhubeke baba uthi qaba ngoba sesizophelela isikhathi.
uMam Sophie ya unkosikazi unaye la.
Oh, qhubekani ke baba silalele.
Umama ufona umama usebenzisa ifoni yami la sosikazi uMam Sophie.
Okay baba qhubeka baba sambelwa isikhathi.
Last year, UJS akakhishwa imali kuyishiya umntana esikolweni January.
Okay, all right. I'm afraid we're going to have to drop that call because Mbukeli akuzwakali kahle ukuthi bathini. Mam Sophie nobaba uLokhuzana ngicela nisithinte nisichazele ukuthi udaba lenu luthini. Another quick one, Stefan. How do you think this class action will actually now benefit consumers going forward? I mean, we understand, I think a wider majority is basically going to understand how class action works and obviously some of the things that they need to do to be part of class action or where to go. But how is it going to benefit consumers in general in South Africa?
I think this class action is incredibly important because it is the first time that a class action has been certified after the court has considered whether or not to grant a certification application in a consumer law context. So this is going to be groundbreaking in terms of consumer law and in terms of assisting consumers to actually get a remedy. You must remember that one of the objectives of the National Credit Act is to restore the balance between, on the one side, the consumer, and the other one is the credit provider. And it would not be talking about restoring a balance if there currently was a balance. So you sit with this huge imbalance of the consumer, this person who has to fund their own litigation. Now we can assist them through class actions to be part of a class where you don't need to specifically go to and see an attorney as an individual. You will receive benefits despite not being able to afford an attorney.
Very interesting. Now to both of you very quickly. I mean, Elias, Stefan, we know we have well-established consumer rights bodies in this country. But for you, Stefan, what necessitated your law clinic to take this up to court in form of class action? And why do you think we cannot depend on those bodies? It's
a
fact.
Yeah, no, the thing is that with regards to those bodies that you are talking about, the commissions.
Nobody's enforcing it.
Yeah, it's only like, for example, with the timeshares. I mean, it was in black and white, whereby the consumers have been duped into something that they never anticipated. But nothing happened there.
Economic very quickly, Stefan. Elias is being very economic with the truth and facts. But very quickly, on your parting word, thank you so much. Very quickly.
Yeah, let me try then as well. As far as I'm concerned, you've hit the nail on the head. There's a difference between having those regulations in place and actually enforcing them.
Absolutely.
And South African law, we often struggle with enforcing them, yes.
All right. Well, Brai, that's what I said. Oh, is that what you said? Language advice victims of false or misleading advertising.
What I can say to the viewers is that please don't just go and apply online whenever you see the adverts. If you rather find out from that person whether this is legit or not.
All right. Mbogeli, that is where, unfortunately, we have to leave the show. To my guest today, Obabu Stefan van der Merwe. Thank you so much, Stefan, all the way from Stellenbosch Law Clinic. He's an attorney. And, of course, Obabu Elias Shamatla, who's been economic. Next time kodwa manje basindile so babone enkantolo nisale kahle